All right, Mr. Cole back again. We're going to do a little read aloud of the American Revolution test prep sources. So the key essential question we'll be answering is would you have been a loyalist or a patriot? So as we look at these different things in these different debates and topics and things that convinced colonists to be against Britain or with Britain, we're going to be kind of analyzing this together, and you're going to make an informed decision about which side you would have picked back then. So we'll start with historical context. When the Revolutionary War began in 1775, Americans were forced to decide which side of the struggle they would support. Loyalists, sometimes called Tories, supported the mother country, which is Britain, while the Patriots supported the rebellion in hopes of gaining independence from Great Britain. For most people, this was not an easy decision to make. There were numerous factors that needed to be considered beyond the important question of American liberty or loyalty to the king. People thought about whether they would benefit more from an American or British victory. Some were worried about their safety and shifted their supports between both sides, depending on who seemed to be winning. We call those people Golden State Warriors fans. Shots fired. Pew, pew, pew. Okay. Part A, focus and annotate questions. So basically, each of these documents has a couple questions underneath it. All you gotta do is answer those questions. So document A, or document 1, Boston Massacre, 1770 by Paul Revere. Now we know Paul Revere was in the Sons of Liberty. He was a patriot. He fought very much on the patriot side, not wishy-washy, fully established. Okay, so this clearly shows, it looks like British soldiers firing in a line intentionally and happily on innocent Boston citizens, innocent Bostonians. And you can see there are a few dead, a few wounded. They're just firing indiscriminately into the crowd with smiles on their face. Tensions between Britain and her colonies had been growing steadily for years when 5 American colonists were shot and killed during a riot on March 5th, 1770. Although it does not show events accurately, this famous engraving by Paul Revere helped to increase Americans' outrage over the Boston Massacre. So basically, you're going to take a look at this in what are 2 ways this picture made the British look bad. So one way, change the font. This font, actually no. One way made them look bad was blank, 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 blank. Another way it made them look bad was blank, 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 blank. You know, you fill it in. Pretty straightforward. So pause this video, take your time to do that. Next one, document 2, comparison of strengths by historian. So this is going to be comparing the different strengths of the British Army and the American Army. And then it doesn't have their weaknesses on here, but whatever. So country, Great Britain. The British, one of the best armies in the world. Army is well trained and disciplined, well equipped, and hired over 30,000 German mercenaries. It's pretty good. Mercenaries are people where you can pay for them to fight on your side. It's like soldiers that you hire. Their navy was the best navy in the world. 131 ships at the top of the line, and they each had 64 guns on them. So pretty strong ships that had a lot of cannons. And they have a lot of other ships as well. As far as their finances, the British pound is the most valuable currency at the time. It was very stable. They had a very good system of taxes and finance back home in Britain, so they knew how to manage their funds well. And Britain spent 4.5 million pounds. That's a lot of dollars. That's like $9 million on mercenaries alone. So man, they're spending a lot on mercenaries, but whatever. They're wealthy, they can afford it. Now, the American colonists, army was just created in 1775, never more than 20,000 men at one time, yet the British can hire 30,000 mercenaries. They did not receive any formal training until about a year and a half into the war. And they had problems with paying their soldiers and lacking supplies. And a lot of people ended up deserting the military and leaving. Desertions mean you go AWOL, you bounce, and you dip without anyone knowing. It's deserting the military, leaving without permission. Their navy was created the same year, and they never had more than 64 ships at any time. And most of their ships are very small. They're very small ships. They're not intended to fight. Their dollar was invented in 1775, and the value of the dollar dropped throughout the war. So dollars were not that valuable, especially compared to pounds, British pounds. The dollar lost almost all of its value in 1779 when it looked like they were going to lose. So American dollar was really not valuable. It's as valuable as toilet paper, honestly. By 1781, only hard money was used in U.S. markets. So basically, it got devalued so much that the dollar wasn't even used anymore for a while. It was just gold and silver because there wasn't enough faith in the dollar. So basically, how did the British financial power make their military strong, both literally and metaphorically? So how is Britain being rich make them strong? Also, according to this chart alone, who seems more likely to win the war? Explain why one side looks more likely to win the war than the other, and how being rich would help that. Okay, so you can pause it, finish this one. When you're done, you can move on to document 3. All right, document 3. Description of the Continental Army by Loyalist Benjamin Thompson. This is the word that should be ringing in our heads as we're reading this. It's also written in 1775. Declaration of Independence was written in 1776. So it's not a full-blown declaration of war yet. It could be, it may not go that far yet. All right, here we go. I got to read it like a loyalist. The army is not very badly equipped. Okay, I'm not going to do it. I'll do it just regular British accent. The army is not very badly equipped, but most wretchedly clothed, and as dirty a set of mortals as ever disgraced the name of soldier. They have had no clothes of any sort provided for them by the Congress, though the army in general, and the Massachusetts forces in particular, had encouragement of having coats given to them for enlisting. The neglect of the Congress to fulfill their promise in this respect has been the source of a great deal of uneasiness among the soldiers. Okay, long story short, Army does not look good. They look like a ragtag set of random farm boys that randomly have guns and say, go fight. Some of them got coats for enlisting, but they do not look good. Another reason why the army can never be well united and regulated is the disagreement and jealousies between the different troops from the different colonies, which will never fail to create uneasiness among them. So basically, soldiers from Massachusetts felt like they couldn't trust soldiers from North Carolina, so they were not very well united. The Massachusetts forces already complained very loudly of the favor the general shows to the Virginians. The gentlemen of the southern colonies complain of the great number of New England officers in the army, and particularly those belonging to the colony of Massachusetts Bay. So there's a little bit of people are feeling some type of way about soldiers from the other colonies. Thus have jealousies and uneasiness already begun, which I cannot fail to increase and grow every day. And if they do not finally destroy the very existence of the army, they will certainly make it much less powerful than it otherwise might have been. Okay, so main arguments, they are not well united. They don't really like each other. And the soldiers themselves are poor, dirty, and honestly not that confident. So that is that. That's basically the main points of that one. So what problems are facing the army that you can see from them, and how would these problems make it difficult for the Continental Army to be successful? So why would these soldiers not trusting each other lead to that, make it difficult for them to be successful? All right. So go ahead and answer these 2 questions. Pause it right here. And then we're going to go to Doc 4. Should a cup of water. No, I'm already recording. All right, document 4. An excerpt from Common Sense by Thomas Paine. Okay, this is one of those vocab words where we know from the Brain Pop video that this dude is a super patriot, and this pamphlet, Common Sense, convinced a lot of people to join the Patriot side. This is one of the best pieces of American propaganda ever. So a lot of people join the Patriots after reading this document. And 1776, the war is already underway. This is a modified source, by the way, so I changed it to make it easier. And it's a Patriot, so I'll do an American. I'll do a little American accent. Passing down kingship from father to son is an insult to future generations. For no one by birth could have a right to set up his own family and power over all others forever. And although he himself might deserve some degree of honor, his descendants might be far too unworthy to inherit them. So basically the way they did, he's talking about the monarchy. He thinks it is very unfair and a terrible idea to pass down absolute power from father to son, because you don't know who you're going to get. And it's like, you don't earn that leadership. It's given to you. It is wrong to pass down absolute power from father to son, because it gives away the right of future generations by saying to a ruler, quote, your children and your children's children shall rule over ours forever. Such an unwise, unfair, and unnatural agreement might put the next generation under the government of a villain or a fool. So definitely a piece attacking the idea of monarchy, of passing power down from father to son, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because you don't know who you're going to get. Whoever gets the kingship might not be worthy of it. There's no checks on it, that kind of thing. So yeah, go ahead and answer the 2 questions right here, and go ahead and pause this and go to the next one. All right, we're going to go to Doc 5. So this one is called an excerpt from the book Plain Truth by James Chalmers, 1776. So we don't know if this is a loyalist or a patriot yet. So we need to, because this person isn't that well known. We know it's written at the beginning of the war, but that's all we know. So I'll read it in a regular voice. Can we suppose that Americans are capable of defending against the power of Great Britain? Our colonies, covered by navigable rivers, everywhere accessible to the fleets and army of Britain, can make no defense. We must view our colonies half-armed, without money or a navy. We must confess that no people were ever opposed to such a powerful army while facing so many disadvantages. Can a reasonable person for a moment believe that Great Britain, whose political existence depends on our obedience, who but recently made such tremendous efforts to save us from France, will not exert herself as powerfully to save us from the wild schemes of independence? This is a long way of saying, like, can you guys really believe that Britain would let us become independent and wouldn't fight us to the death when, like, they just did that like 20 years ago? So basically, he's calling into question the reality of the situation. Like, being he's very realist in terms of the odds that are stacked against them. So based off this excerpt, is he a patriot or a loyalist, and maybe why? And what are the couple of the arguments that he gives? Like, what are 2 of the reasons he thinks that, you know, maybe war isn't the best idea? So you can pause there and finish that part. One second. So basically, at the end of this, after reading all of these sources, and seeing all these different arguments for patriots and loyalists, what side would you pick and why? So you're going to give 2 short reasons why, and then we're going to expand upon it later. So the first, and they can be your own words. They don't have to be like quoting a really good source and all that. Like just really straightforward. Why would you be a patriot? Why would you be a loyalist? Real fast, real quick. So the second part of that is in the okay. So this is the thing you guys got a little while ago. Patriots and loyalists. The directions are pretty straightforward, but you're dragging these text boxes to fit either patriot or loyalist, depending on which side you would pick. The other part of this is what side would you have been on? So basically, whatever reasons you mention here, you need to mention those reasons in this. You know, tell me why you would have been a patriot or a loyalist. You know, why is it the right move? Why is it the wrong move? What other arguments may the other side bring up, and why are those maybe not incredibly valid in your opinion? And overall, where do you stand? Do you stand with revolution or do you not stand with revolution? That's your assignment. Turn it in when you're done. Go Padres. Have a great day.